snow fell heavily on Christmas Eve, coating the rural roads outside of Portland in a blanket of white. Jack Miller gripped his steering wheel tightly, squinting through the windshield as his wipers fought against the swirling flakes. His 10-year-old son Tommy slept peacefully in the back seat, exhausted after their last-minute Christmas shopping trip. "Almost home, buddy," Jack whispered, even though Tommy couldn't hear him. The clock on the dashboard read 10:43 p.m. Christmas Eve was almost over, and Jack still had presents to wrap once Tommy was in bed. Life as a single dad wasn't easy, but Jack had found his rhythm in the 5 years since his wife Lily had passed away. He worked from home as a graphic designer, which let him be there for Tommy after school. They had their routines, their inside jokes, their weekend hiking trips. It wasn't perfect, but they made it work, just the two of them. Jack slowed the car as he approached a sharp bend in the road. His headlights swept across the snowy landscape as he turned, and then he slammed on the brakes. What the? There, huddled together at the side of the road, were two small figures. Jack blinked hard, sure his eyes were playing tricks on him. But no, there were definitely two little girls sitting in the snow holding each other tightly. They couldn't have been older than 4 or 5. Jack's heart hammered in his chest as he pulled over, the car sliding slightly on the icy road. "Tommy, wake up," he said, reaching back to shake his son's leg. "I need you to stay in the car for a minute, okay?" Tommy rubbed his eyes, confused. "Dad, are we home?" "Not yet. There's some kids outside. I need to check on them. Just stay here. Lock the doors if I'm not back in 2 minutes." Jack jumped out of the car, the cold air hitting him like a slap. The snow soaked through his shoes as he trudged toward the little girls, who watched him approach with wide, frightened eyes. "Hey there," Jack said softly, crouching down a few feet away from them. "Are you okay? Where are your parents?" The girls, identical twins with dark curly hair and round faces, didn't answer. They wore light jackets completely inadequate for the weather, pink mittens and matching light-up sneakers. One clutched a small stuffed rabbit. "My name's Jack," he tried again. "I want to help you. It's freezing out here." One of the girls whispered something to the other, then looked at Jack. "I'm Lily," she said in a tiny voice. "This is Lucy." Jack's chest tightened at the name. Lily, just like his wife. "Hi, Lily. Hi, Lucy. Where's your mom or dad?" "Did you get lost?" The girls shook their heads but offered no explanation. Jack looked around desperately. There were no houses nearby, no cars on the road, nothing but trees and darkness and falling snow. He pulled out his phone. "No service." "Okay," Jack said, making a decision. "I'm going to take you somewhere warm and we'll find your parents." "Is that okay?" After a moment's hesitation, the girls nodded. Jack carefully approached and lifted one in each arm. They were so light, so fragile. Their bodies were ice cold. "Good girls," he murmured. "Let's get you warmed up." Tommy's eyes went wide as Jack placed the twins in the back seat next to him. "Who are they, Dad?" he asked, scooting over to make room. "This is Lily and Lucy," Jack said, turning up the heat full blast. "They were outside in the cold. We're going to help them." Jack drove carefully through the snow, occasionally glancing in the rearview mirror at the 3 children in his back seat. Tommy had given the twins his blanket and was talking to them softly, showing them his new action figure. The girls remained mostly silent, but they seemed to be warming up. What were 2 little girls doing alone on a rural road on Christmas Eve? Jack's mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. Had there been an accident? Were the parents looking for them? Had they been, he could barely think it, abandoned? When they finally reached their small house on the edge of town, Jack ushered the children inside and turned on all the lights. He found clean towels and wrapped the twins in them, then made hot chocolate for everyone. "Do you know your mom or dad's phone number?" he asked the girls as they sipped their drinks. "Or your address?" Lily and Lucy shook their heads. The one holding the stuffed rabbit, Lucy, Jack thought, reached into her pocket and pulled out a worn, folded photograph. She handed it to Jack without a word. Jack unfolded it and the mug nearly slipped from his hands. The photo showed a young woman with a bright smile and kind eyes, a woman who looked remarkably like his late wife Lily. Not identical, but the resemblance was striking enough to make his hands tremble. "Who is this?" he asked, his voice barely steady. "Mommy," Lily said. "She's sick." Jack stared at the photo, a chill running down his spine that had nothing to do with the winter weather. The woman looked so much like his wife it was unsettling, but it couldn't be her. His Lily had died 5 years ago in a car accident. This had to be a coincidence, a trick of the light. His mind seeing what it wanted to see on Christmas Eve, a night already filled with memories and ghosts. "Okay," Jack said, pulling himself together. "I need to call the police so they can help find your mommy." While Tommy entertained the twins with a Christmas movie, Jack stepped into the kitchen and called 911. The dispatcher told him an officer would come by soon, but the heavy snowfall was causing accidents all over the county, so it might be a while. Next, Jack called Child Services. A tired-sounding woman named Ms. Chen took down all the information and promised a social worker would visit first thing in the morning. "Keep them comfortable and safe for tonight," she instructed. "Has anyone reported missing twin girls in your area?" "I don't know," Jack admitted. "The police are coming, but they're busy with the snow." "Well, it's strange no one has called about missing twins. We'll run a check and see what we find. In the meantime, do you have what you need to care for them overnight? Food, clothes, a place to sleep?" Jack looked around his modest kitchen. "I think so. My son is 10, but I think I still have some of his old things that might fit them." "Good. We'll be in touch tomorrow morning." "Merry Christmas, Mr. Miller." "Merry Christmas." Jack had almost forgotten what day it was. He hung up and returned to the living room where he found Tommy showing the twins the Christmas tree. "Dad, they've never had a Christmas tree before," Tommy said, sounding shocked. Jack raised his eyebrows. "Is that true?" he asked the girls gently. Lucy nodded. "Mommy said maybe next year." Something about their story wasn't adding up, but Jack couldn't figure out what. He helped the girls into some of Tommy's old pajamas, which were too big but clean and warm. He made up the guest bedroom with fresh sheets and tucked the twins in together. "You're safe here," he promised them. "Tomorrow we'll figure everything out, okay?" Lily and Lucy nodded solemnly. Before he turned out the light, Lucy spoke up. "Are you him?" she asked. Jack paused. "Am I who?" "The man in Mommy's picture. The one she said would help us." Jack's heart skipped a beat. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But I'm going to help you no matter what." Back in his own room, Jack couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the photo, about the twins appearing on Christmas Eve of all nights, about Lucy's strange question. None of it made sense. He took out the photo again and studied it under his bedside lamp. The woman was definitely not his wife, but they could have been sisters. The background looked like a hospital room, and the woman's smile seemed forced, like she was putting on a brave face. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the world in silence. In the guest room, two little girls who had appeared out of nowhere slept peacefully, unaware of the mystery surrounding them. And in his own bed, Jack Miller stared at the ceiling, unable to shake the feeling that his life was about to change forever. The police never made it that night. Too many emergencies from the storm. As the clock struck midnight and Christmas Day officially began, Jack finally drifted off to sleep. The photo of the mysterious woman still clutched in his hand. Jack woke with a start, momentarily confused by the sound of unfamiliar giggles coming from somewhere in his house. Then the events of the previous night came rushing back. The twin girls abandoned in the snow, the mysterious photograph, the strange coincidence of one being named after his late wife. Sunlight streamed through his curtains. It was Christmas morning. Jack checked his phone, 7:30 a.m. and several missed calls from unknown numbers. He slipped out of bed, pulled on his robe, and followed the sound of laughter to the kitchen. There he found Tommy already awake, showing the twins how to pour cereal into bowls. Milk sloshed onto the counter as little hands struggled with the heavy carton. "Good morning," Jack said, smiling despite his worry. "Merry Christmas, everyone." 3 small faces turned toward him. Tommy beamed with pride at taking charge of the situation. The twins, Lily and Lucy, looked more lively this morning, their cheeks rosy and eyes bright. "Merry Christmas, Dad," Tommy exclaimed. "I told the girls about Santa, but they said he doesn't visit them." Jack's heart ached at that. What kind of life had these little girls been living? "Well, let's see if he stopped by here last night," Jack said, playing along. He hadn't had time to put out Tommy's gifts after finding the twins, but thankfully he'd wrapped most of them days ago and hidden them in his closet. While the children ate breakfast, Jack slipped away and quickly arranged Tommy's presents under the tree. Then he rummaged through some storage boxes in the hallway closet and found a few of Tommy's old toys: a stuffed elephant, a toy guitar, some building blocks that Ed barely used. He hastily wrapped them in leftover paper, feeling a pang of guilt that it was the best he could do for the twins on such short notice. By the time the kids finished breakfast, Jack had created a modest Christmas morning scene. The twins' eyes grew wide as they entered the living room. "Look," Tommy told them excitedly. "Santa knew you were here." Lucy, the quieter of the two, approached the tree cautiously, as if expecting the presents to disappear. Lily hung back, clutching her sister's hand. "Are those for us?" Lily asked, pointing to the hastily wrapped gifts with no name tags. "Let's see," Jack said, picking up the elephant. "This says it's for a little girl named Lily who likes animals." He handed it to her, his heart melting as her face lit up with surprise and joy. For the next hour, the house was filled with the sounds of tearing paper and excited exclamations. Tommy was thrilled with his new video game and science kit. The twins seemed equally delighted with their secondhand gifts, playing with them as if they were treasures beyond compare. Jack was just helping Lucy figure out how to work the toy guitar when a knock came at the front door. The social worker, Miss Chen, stood on his porch, bundled up against the cold. Behind her, a police cruiser was parked in his driveway, an officer waiting inside. "Merry Christmas, Mr. Miller," she said briskly. "I understand you found 2 children last night." Jack invited her in and offered her coffee, which she accepted gratefully. The twins grew shy when they saw the stranger, retreating to Tommy's side on the couch. "Have you found out who they are?" Jack asked hopefully. "Or their parents?" Ms. Chen's expression turned serious. "That's the strange part, Mr. Miller. No one has reported twin girls matching their description missing. Not last night, not this morning." Jack frowned. "That can't be right. They're just little kids. Someone must be looking for them." "You'd think so," Ms. Chen agreed, pulling out a tablet. "May I speak with them?" Jack called the twins over. They approached reluctantly, holding hands. "Hi there," Ms. Chen said warmly. "My name is Ms. Chen. I'm here to help you. Can you tell me your full names?" "Lily," said one twin. "Lucy," said the other. "And what's your last name?" The girls looked at each other, then at Jack as if seeking guidance. "Taylor," Lucy finally said. "Like Mommy," Ms. Chen nodded encouragingly. "That's good. And where do you live?" Another exchange of glances. "With Mommy," Lily said. "But she's in the hospital." "She's very sick, I see. And what's Mommy's name?" "Rebecca," Lucy answered. "Rebecca Taylor." Ms. Chen typed this information into her tablet. "And your daddy? Where is he?" The twins fell silent, looking confused. "Don't you know where your daddy is?" Ms. Chen pressed gently. Lily pointed at Jack. "Mommy said he would help us." Jack felt the blood drain from his face. Ms. Chen gave him a sharp look. "Mr. Miller, do you know these children?" "No," Jack said quickly. "I've never seen them before last night." "I have no idea why they would say that." Lucy reached into her pocket and pulled out the photograph again, handing it to Ms. Chen. "That's Mommy," she said. "She has a picture of him, too. She said we had to find him." Ms. Chen studied the photo, then passed it to Jack. "Is this someone you know, Mr. Miller?" Jack shook his head, though the woman's resemblance to his late wife still unnerved him. "No, but she looks a bit like my wife who passed away 5 years ago." Ms. Chen raised an eyebrow. "Quite a coincidence." "I know how it sounds," Jack said defensively. "But I swear I've never seen these girls before. I just found them on the road and couldn't leave them in a snowstorm." Ms. Chen turned back to the twins. "How did you get to the road where Mr. Miller found you?" "We were in a car," Lily explained. "With Mommy. But it stopped working and Mommy felt very bad. She said we had to find the man in the picture and she pointed which way to go. She said she would come back for us, but it was so cold." Jack and Ms. Chen exchanged concerned glances. Had their mother abandoned them? Or had something happened to her? "We need to find this Rebecca Taylor," Ms. Chen said, standing up. "And check hospitals in the area. I'll have Officer Martinez take a look for broken-down vehicles along that stretch of road." "What about the girls?" Jack asked. "What happens to them now?" Ms. Chen glanced at the twins who had returned to playing with their new toys alongside Tommy. "Well, normally we'd place them in emergency foster care while we investigate." Jack felt an unexpected surge of protectiveness. The thought of the twins being taken away to strangers on Christmas Day seemed wrong somehow. "Could they stay here?" he asked impulsively. "Just until you find their mother." "They seem comfortable and it's Christmas." Ms. Chen considered this. "You're not a registered foster parent, Mr. Miller. I know, but I'm a father. I have a safe home." Just for a day or two until you sort this out? After some discussion and a quick home safety check, Ms. Chen reluctantly agreed. She had Jack fill out temporary emergency caregiver paperwork and promised to return the next day with more information. This is highly unusual, she warned him, but it's Christmas and they do seem comfortable here. Just remember, this is temporary. After Ms. Chen and the police officer left, Jack found himself alone with 3 children and a house full of questions. Tommy was thrilled at the idea of the twins staying longer, already planning which toys he would share with them. Jack tried to push aside his unease and focus on making the day special. He cobbled together a Christmas dinner from what he had in the freezer and pantry. They built a snowman in the backyard, watched holiday movies, and played board games as the short winter day faded to evening. That night, after getting everyone bathed and into pajamas, Jack sat on the edge of the twins' bed to tuck them in. "Mr. Jack?" Lily asked sleepily. "Are you mad that we're here?" The question caught him off guard. "No, not at all," he assured her. "I'm glad I found you. I just want to make sure you're safe and that your mom is okay." Lucy yawned. "Mommy said you would take care of us if she couldn't anymore." A chill ran down Jack's spine. "Lucy, why did your mom tell you that? How does she know who I am?" But Lucy's eyes were already closing, her small body surrendering to sleep. Jack sat there for a long time, watching the twins' peaceful faces, trying to make sense of their words. Later, unable to sleep, Jack took out the photograph again. On a hunch, he turned it over. There, in faded ballpoint pen, was a note he hadn't noticed before. "If you're reading this, I couldn't make it. Please take care of them, Jack. They're more yours than you know." R.T. Jack stared at the message, his mind racing. What did she mean? How did this woman know his name? And what did she mean by more yours than you know? Outside, the Christmas lights from neighboring houses cast colorful shadows across his bedroom wall. Down the hall, 3 children slept peacefully, unaware of the mystery that was slowly unraveling around them. Jack placed the photo on his nightstand and lay back on his pillow, his thoughts swirling like the snow that had been falling when he found the twins. Whatever was happening, whatever connection existed between him and these little girls, he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to rest until he uncovered the truth. The day after Christmas dawned clear and cold. Jack had barely slept, the mysterious note from the photograph playing over and over in his mind. He'd spent hours searching online for Rebecca Taylor without success. The name was too common, bringing up thousands of results with no way to narrow them down. Tommy had adapted to their unexpected house guests with the resilience of childhood, already treating the twins like honorary little sisters. Jack watched from the kitchen as the 3 of them built elaborate towers from Tommy's new building blocks, the twins giggling whenever Tommy dramatically knocked them down. "Dad, can we take Lily and Lucy sledding today?" Tommy called out. "They've never been." Another small detail that bothered Jack. What kind of childhood had these girls had? They seemed unfamiliar with so many normal experiences, from Christmas trees to sledding. "Maybe later, buddy," Jack replied. "Ms. Chen is coming back this morning, remember?" As if on cue, the doorbell rang. But it wasn't Ms. Chen standing on his porch. Instead, a tall, serious-looking man in a dark suit introduced himself as Detective Roy from the County Sheriff's Department. "May I come in, Mr. Miller? I have some information about the children you found." Jack's stomach tightened as he showed the detective to the kitchen, away from the kids' ears. "We located a vehicle abandoned about half a mile from where you found the girls," Detective Roy explained, pulling out a notepad. "A blue sedan registered to Rebecca Taylor of Sundale." "Sundale? That's 3 hours from here," Jack said, surprised. "What was she doing all the way out here?" The detective's expression turned grim. "We don't know yet. But Mr. Miller, there was no one in the car. We've searched the surrounding area and found no sign of Ms. Taylor." Jack felt a chill that had nothing to do with the winter weather. "You think something happened to her?" "It's possible." The driver's side door was open, and we found a cell phone with a dead battery on the seat. The gas tank was empty. "We've put out an alert for Ms. Taylor and we're checking hospitals in the area." Jack thought of the note on the back of the photograph. "If you're reading this, I couldn't make it." Had she known she might not survive whatever journey she'd undertaken? "There's something else," Jack said, retrieving the photo from his bedroom. He showed the detective both sides, including the handwritten note. Detective Roy studied it carefully. "This appears to be addressed specifically to you, Mr. Miller. Did you know Ms. Taylor?" No, Jack insisted. At least I don't think so, but he hesitated, feeling foolish. The woman in the photo looks a bit like my late wife, Lily, and one of the twins is named Lily, too. The detective murmured, making notes. Could be a coincidence, but we'll look into any potential connections. May I take this photo as evidence? Jack reluctantly handed it over. It felt like giving away a piece of the puzzle. Ms. Chen arrived shortly after Detective Roy left. She seemed troubled by the news about the abandoned car and the missing mother. I've been checking hospital records, she told Jack as they watched the children play. There is a Rebecca Taylor registered at Sundale Memorial Hospital, but she hasn't been admitted for over a month. So she's not there now? Jack asked, confused. No, but I'm waiting on more information about her previous stays. In the meantime, Ms. Chen hesitated. We need to consider next steps for the girls. I've located a foster family who can take them this afternoon. Jack felt an unexpected pang at the thought. So soon? But we don't even know what happened to their mother yet. Mr. Miller, you agreed to emergency temporary care for Christmas. You're not a licensed foster parent. I know, but Jack struggled to articulate the strange connection he felt to these children. They're comfortable here. Moving them again would just be more trauma. Ms. Chen studied him with professional detachment. Are you offering to keep them longer? Because that would involve a more formal process. Home studies, background checks. Yes, Jack said, surprising himself. Yes, I'll do whatever paperwork you need. At least until we find out what happened to their mother. Later that afternoon, after Miss Chen had left with promises to expedite the temporary custody process, Jack took the children sledding at a small hill near their house. Watching the twins' faces light up as they experienced their first sled ride down the gentle slope, he felt a curious sense of rightness, as if they belonged in his life somehow. That evening, while the kids were occupied with a movie, Jack's phone rang with an unknown number. Mr. Miller, this is Dr. Patel from Sundale Memorial. Ms. Chen from Social Services asked me to contact you about Rebecca Taylor. Jack's heart raced. Yes, did you find her? No, I'm afraid not. But I treated Ms. Taylor during her stays here, and I may have information relevant to the situation with her daughters. Please, anything would help, Jack said. Dr. Patel's voice was gentle but direct. Ms. Taylor was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer 6 months ago. Her prognosis was not good. 3 to 6 months at best. Jack sank into a chair. So she knew she was dying. Yes. She underwent some palliative treatments but declined further intervention about a month ago. She left against medical advice, saying she had important matters to resolve before. The doctor left the sentence unfinished. The twins said she was sick, Jack murmured, but they probably don't understand how sick. There's something else, Dr. Patel continued. In one of our conversations, Ms. Taylor mentioned that she needed to find her daughter's father before it was too late. She said he didn't know about them, that it was complicated. Jack's mind raced. Was it possible? Could he somehow be these girls' father? But how? He would have remembered Rebecca Taylor if they'd had a relationship. Doctor, did she ever mention a name? The father's name? I'm sorry, she didn't. Patient confidentiality normally wouldn't allow me to share even this much, but given the circumstances with the abandoned children, I understand. Thank you. After hanging up, Jack sat motionless, trying to process what he'd learned. A terminally ill mother, rushing to find her daughter's father before it was too late. A note addressed specifically to him. The twins' insistence that their mother had told them Jack would help them, but how could he be their father? He and Lily had tried for years to have another child after Tommy without success. Lily had frozen some of her eggs before cancer treatments in her 20s, but after her death, Jack had never pursued using them. He couldn't imagine having another child without her. His thoughts were interrupted by a small hand on his knee. Lucy stood before him, her dark eyes solemn. Mr. Jack, are you sad? Jack forced a smile. No, sweetie. Just thinking. Lucy climbed onto his lap uninvited, her little body fitting perfectly against his chest. Mommy was sad a lot too, but she said we would be happy with you. Jack stroked her curly hair, so like Tommy's when he was younger. Lucy, did your mommy ever tell you about your daddy? Lucy shook her head. Just that he didn't know about us, but he would love us when he met us. From the couch, Lily piped up. Mommy said we're special because we grew in another mommy's tummy before we were born. Jack's hand froze mid-stroke. What did you say? Mommy said a kind lady let us grow in her tummy because Mommy's tummy was broken, Lily explained matter-of-factly. And that lady was an angel now, watching over us. Jack's mind whirled. A surrogate pregnancy? Could Rebecca have used Lily's frozen egg somehow? It seemed impossible, yet it would explain the twins' resemblance to his late wife, the timing of their birth, and Rebecca's determination to find him. The next morning, Detective Roy called with news. "We've got security camera footage from a gas station about 2 miles from where the car was abandoned," he reported. "Ms. Taylor is visible purchasing a small amount of gas around 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve, appearing very unwell. She returns to her vehicle but doesn't reappear in any later footage. So she made it that far at least," Jack said. "Any sign of the twins with her?" "Yes, they're visible in the back seat of her car. Mr. Miller, given what we know about Ms. Taylor's medical condition and the weather that night, I'm afraid we have to consider the possibility that she may not have survived." Jack closed his eyes, thinking of the woman in the photograph, fighting to get her daughters to safety before it was too late. "You need to keep searching," he insisted. "If there's any chance she's alive, boy..." "We're doing everything we can," Detective Roy assured him. "In the meantime, I've spoken with Ms. Chen about your temporary custody arrangement. It seems like the best place for the girls right now, especially if there is a connection between you and Ms. Taylor that we haven't yet uncovered." After the call, Jack watched the twins playing in his living room, seeing them with new eyes. Could they really be his daughters biologically, connected to his beloved Lily through her preserved eggs? The idea was stunning, almost too much to comprehend. That afternoon, Jack gathered the courage to tell Tommy what he'd learned, so they might be kind of like... "My sisters?" Tommy asked, his brow furrowed as he tried to understand. "Half-sisters, possibly," Jack explained gently. "If what I'm thinking is true, they would share DNA with you through Mom." Tommy considered this seriously. Is that why Lucy likes the same cereal as me? And why Lily can curl her tongue like I can? Jack smiled at his son's simple acceptance. "Maybe. We'll need special tests to know for sure. But would you be okay with that, if they turned out to be your sisters?" Tommy grinned. "That would be awesome. I always wanted sisters." Later, as Jack tucked the twins into bed, he found himself studying their faces more carefully. Now that he was looking for it, he could see hints of Lily in them. The shape of their eyes, the way Lily's nose crinkled when she smiled, Lucy's determined little chin. "Mr. Jack?" Lily asked as he turned to leave. "If Mommy doesn't come back, will we have to go away?" The question pierced Jack's heart. "I don't know what's going to happen yet," he answered honestly. "But I promise I'll do everything I can to keep you safe." In the darkness of the hallway, Jack made a silent vow. Whether these girls were biologically his or not, whether their connection to his late wife was real or imagined, he would protect them. He would uncover the truth about Rebecca Taylor and her desperate Christmas Eve journey. And somehow, he would find a way to keep this unexpected, fragile new family together. A week passed with no sign of Rebecca Taylor. The search had expanded, with police combing the woods near where her car was found. But the heavy snowfall had obscured any tracks she might have left. Hospitals within a 100-mile radius had been contacted. Missing person flyers with her photo, obtained from her driver's license, had been distributed throughout the area. Jack found himself in a strange limbo. The twins had settled into his home with surprising ease, as if they'd always belonged there. Tommy had fully embraced his role as big brother, teaching them games and proudly showing them off to his friends who came over to play with his Christmas gifts. Jack had rearranged his work schedule, taking on fewer design projects to spend more time with the children. Ms. Chen visited regularly, bringing paperwork for Jack to sign as the temporary custody arrangement stretched on. She seemed impressed by how well he was managing with the girls. "You seem to have a natural connection with them," she observed during one visit. It's unusual to see children adjust so quickly to a new caregiver, especially after trauma. Jack nodded, watching the twins help Tommy build a fort out of couch cushions and blankets. "I feel it too. It's like they were meant to be here somehow." "Have you considered becoming a licensed foster parent?" Ms. Chen asked. Given the circumstances, we could expedite the process. The question caught Jack off guard. "I hadn't thought that far ahead. I've been hoping we'd find Our mother." Ms. Chen's expression softened. "Mr. Miller, I understand your hope, but we need to be realistic. It's been a week with no sign of Miss Taylor, given what we know about her health condition and the weather that night. I know, Jack said quietly. I've been thinking about it too. That evening, after the children were in bed, Detective Roy called with news that changed everything. We've located Rebecca Taylor, he said without preamble. Jack's heart leapt. She's alive? Where is she? A heavy pause. I'm sorry, Mr. Miller. She was found by hikers this morning in a wooded area about 3 miles from where her car was abandoned. She didn't survive. Even though he'd been half expecting it, the news hit Jack hard. This woman he'd never met, who had entrusted her daughters to him in her final desperate act, was gone. How? When did it happen? He managed to ask. The medical examiner believes she died from a combination of her illness and exposure to the elements, likely on Christmas Eve or early Christmas morning. She was found with a backpack containing medications, some personal items, and legal documents that, well, they're quite relevant to your situation, Mr. Miller. Jack felt a chill. What kind of documents? There's a legal will naming you as guardian of her daughters, for one thing. And there are medical records and legal papers regarding the birth of the twins that you should see. I'd rather not go into details over the phone. Could you come to the station tomorrow? The next morning, Jack arranged for his neighbor to watch the children and drove to the sheriff's department. Detective Roy met him in a small conference room, a folder on the table between them. Before I show you these, Mr. Miller, I want to prepare you. The story they tell is unusual. Jack nodded, his mouth dry. I think I may already have guessed parts of it. Detective Roy opened the folder. Rebecca Taylor's backpack contained a sealed envelope addressed to you, along with legal documents naming you as the twins' guardian in the event of her death. There were also medical records from a fertility clinic in Sundale, dated approximately 5 years ago. He passed Jack a sealed envelope first. This is the letter addressed to you. I haven't opened it. With trembling fingers, Jack broke the seal. Inside was a handwritten letter several pages long. Dear Jack, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it, and I'm so sorry to burden you this way. But I promised Lily I would make sure the girls found their way to you if anything happened to me, and I intend to keep that promise. You don't know me, but I was Lily's best friend in college. We stayed close even after she met you. When she was diagnosed with cancer at 25 and decided to freeze her eggs, I was with her through the process. She made me promise then that if anything happened to her, I would make sure those eggs weren't forgotten. After Lily's accident, I lost touch with you. I was grieving too, and I didn't know how to reach out. A few years later, I was diagnosed with endometriosis and told I would never be able to have children of my own. That's when I remembered Lily's eggs, still preserved at the fertility clinic. It may seem strange, but I felt Lily guiding me. I contacted the clinic and discovered that as Lily's husband, you were the legal owner of the preserved eggs. I know I should have contacted you then, but I was afraid you'd say no. So I forged your signature on the release forms. I used an anonymous sperm donor from the clinic's database and a surrogate mother to carry the pregnancy. When Lily and Lucy were born, I knew I had done something legally wrong but morally right. They are pieces of Lily, living on in this world. I named one after her, of course. I meant to tell you about them sooner, but the years passed and it became harder to imagine how to explain. When I received my cancer diagnosis 6 months ago, I knew I couldn't put it off any longer. The girls deserve to know their father. Yes, Jack, you are their father in every way that matters. They share Lily's DNA just as your son Tommy does. I've been telling them about you, showing them pictures I still had of you and Lily together. I planned to drive to Portland and explain everything in person, but I've been getting weaker faster than I expected. I set out on Christmas Eve, determined to reach you before it was too late. I realize now that was foolish, but I was desperate to see the girls safely with you before I died. When my car ran out of gas in the snowstorm, I knew I wouldn't make it the rest of the way. I pointed the girls toward the road where you drive home each night. Yes, I'd done my research and told them to wait for you. I tried to follow, but I was too weak. I'm sorry for the shock and confusion this must be causing you. But please know that Lily and Lucy are truly yours, a gift from Lily who loved you so much. The legal documents enclosed name you as their guardian, and the medical records confirm everything I've told you. Take care of our girls, Jack. Love them as I have, as Lily would have. They are her legacy, and now they are yours. With deep regret and gratitude, Rebecca. Jack lowered the letter, tears blurring his vision. He felt numb, overwhelmed by the revelation. Lily's eggs. His wife's genetic children, born years after her death without his knowledge. Detective Roy gave him a moment before speaking. The medical records appeared to confirm her story. Mr. Miller. DNA tests would provide definitive proof, of course, but the timeline and documentation are consistent with what she wrote. Jack nodded, unable to speak. There's one more thing. The detective continued, pulling another document from the folder. This is Ms. Taylor's will, properly witnessed and notarized 2 months ago. It names you as the twins' guardian and leaves her modest estate in trust for their education. It's all legal and in order. So they're mine, Jack finally managed. Legally. According to these documents, yes. The fertility clinic may face investigation for releasing the eggs without proper authorization, but that doesn't affect the guardianship designation. Of course, if you wish to contest it. No, Jack said firmly. No, I don't want to contest anything. They're Lily's daughters. They're Tommy's sisters. They belong with us. As Jack drove home, his mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Anger at Rebecca's deception mingled with gratitude for the gift she had given him. Grief for the stranger who had raised his daughters for their first 4 years competed with joy at discovering this unexpected connection to his beloved wife. He pulled into his driveway and sat for a long moment, gathering himself before going inside. Through the front window, he could see the 3 children playing a board game with his neighbor. Tommy was clearly explaining the rules to the twins, who watched him with identical expressions of concentration. Jack studied their faces, seeing now what he should have recognized from the beginning. Lily's eyes, her smile, the particular way she would tilt her head when listening intently. How had he missed it? As if sensing his gaze, Lucy looked up and spotted him in the car. Her face broke into a radiant smile, Lily's smile, and she waved excitedly. Lily and Tommy turned to look too, all 3 children beckoning him to come inside. His family, incomplete and then unexpectedly made whole again through a Christmas Eve miracle that was equal parts science, deception, and desperate maternal love. Jack took a deep breath and stepped out of the car, ready to tell 3 children a story about their mothers, one they had known and loved, and one whose legacy lived on in all of them. Inside, Tommy rushed to greet him. Dad, we've been teaching Lily and Lucy how to play Monopoly. Did you know they've never played before? No, buddy, I didn't know that, Jack said, his voice thick with emotion as he hugged his son. The twins approached more cautiously, perhaps sensing something different in his demeanor. Mr. Jack? Lily asked. Are you okay? Jack knelt down to their level, looking into the eyes that were so like his wife's. I'm better than okay, he told them. I have something important to tell all of you. Something about your mommy and about my wife Lily, and about who we are to each other. The children gathered around him on the couch as he began to explain, as simply as he could, the extraordinary truth, that Tommy's mother had left behind a gift that had brought Lily and Lucy into the world. That Rebecca had raised them with love, but had always known they would someday find their way to their father. That despite the sadness of losing both their mothers, they were now, and would forever be, a family. As understanding dawned in their young faces, Jack felt a presence in the room, Lily's presence, somehow alive in the genetic legacy she had left behind, and Rebecca's spirit too, finally at peace knowing her daughters were exactly where they belonged. 6 months had passed since that snowy Christmas Eve, when Jack found 2 little girls huddled by the roadside. Spring had melted into summer, and now the August sun beat down on Jack's backyard as he watched 3 children playing under the sprinkler. Tommy ran through the water spray, deliberately splashing his sisters, who squealed in delight. At nearly 11 now, he had grown an inch since Christmas and had fully embraced his role as protective big brother. The twins, recently turned 5, had blossomed in their new home. Lily, slightly more adventurous, was now attempting cartwheels through the sprinkler. Lucy, always a bit more thoughtful, was carefully constructing a miniature dam in the muddy puddles forming on the lawn. Jack snapped a photo with his phone, adding to the thousands he'd taken since the girls had come into his life. Sometimes he still couldn't believe how much had changed in half a year. The legal process of establishing his guardianship had been surprisingly smooth, thanks to Rebecca's careful documentation. DNA tests had confirmed what Jack already knew in his heart. The twins were biologically his wife's children, conceived from her frozen eggs. The fertility clinic had faced investigation for releasing Lily's eggs without proper verification of Jack's consent, but he had declined to press charges, recognizing that their mistake had brought these precious children into his life. "Dad, watch this," Tommy called, performing an elaborate spin through the water. "That's amazing, buddy," Jack called back, smiling at his son's exuberance. His phone buzzed with a text from Ms. Chen. "Just checking in. How's everyone doing?" The social worker had remained part of their lives, helping guide Jack through the transition from emergency guardian to legal father. She had become a friend, occasionally joining them for dinner and marveling at how naturally the children had bonded. "All good here," Jack typed back. "Girls excited about starting kindergarten next month." He added a photo of the children playing and hit send, then returned his attention to the backyard scene. So much had changed, yet somehow it felt like the most natural thing in the world, as if his family had always been meant to include twin daughters. The past 6 months hadn't been without challenges, of course. There had been nightmares, especially in the beginning, when the twins would wake crying for their mother. There had been moments of confusion and grief as they gradually understood that Rebecca was never coming back. There had been days when Jack felt overwhelmed by the responsibility of raising 3 children alone, but there had been far more moments of joy. The first time the twins called him Dad instead of Mr. Jack, the morning he found Tommy reading to his sisters before breakfast. The day Lily brought home a drawing from preschool labeled My Family with 4 stick figures, herself, Lucy, Tommy, and Jack, plus a smiling angel in the sky labeled Mommy. Jack had honored Rebecca's memory in the ways he could. A photo of her now sat on the twins' dresser. He had taken the children to her grave on her birthday, bringing flowers and telling them stories about their brave mother who had loved them so much she had made sure they would be safe and happy after she was gone. He had also worked to keep Lily's memory alive for all 3 children. He spoke of her often, sharing stories and photos, making sure the twins understood the extraordinary circumstances that had brought them into the world. "Dad," Lucy called, running over with muddy hands. "I built a river system." "Come see." Jack allowed himself to be led to an elaborate network of little channels and pools she had engineered in the dirt. "That's incredible, Luce," he said, genuinely impressed by her attention to detail. "You might be an engineer someday," she beamed at him. "Tommy helped me with the main channel, and Lily tested it by pouring water from her cup." "Teamwork makes the dream work," Jack said, using one of Rebecca's phrases that the twins had shared with him. Lucy's expression grew thoughtful. "Do you think Mommy can see my river from heaven?" These moments still caught Jack by surprise. The sudden questions about Rebecca, or sometimes about the mother they had never known but whose genetic legacy they carried. "I think both your mommies would be very proud of you," Jack said gently. "They'd love seeing how creative you are." Lucy nodded, satisfied with this answer, and ran back to her construction project. Jack settled back into his lawn chair, thinking about the journey that had brought them here. After the initial shock of discovering the twins' origins, he had gone through a range of emotions: anger at Rebecca's deception, wonder at the scientific miracle that had created these children, and ultimately profound gratitude. He still had Rebecca's letter, safely stored in his desk drawer. Sometimes at night, after the children were asleep, he would read it again, trying to understand the woman who had made such an extraordinary choice. In time, his anger had faded, replaced by a complex mix of respect and gratitude. Whatever her flaws, she had loved the twins fiercely and had ensured they would find their way to him when she could no longer care for them. "Time for popsicles," Jack announced, heading inside to retrieve the frozen treats from the freezer. The children cheered and abandoned their water play, racing to the patio table. As Jack handed out the colorful ice pops, he marveled at how seamlessly the twins had integrated into their lives. Tommy's initial excitement about having sisters hadn't worn off. If anything, his bond with them had deepened. The girls had adapted to their new home with remarkable resilience, gradually letting go of their grief while holding on to happy memories of Rebecca. "Dad, can we call Grandma and Grandpa later?" Lily asked, juice dripping down her chin. "I want to show them my cartwheel." "Sure, sweetheart," Jack agreed. His parents had been stunned by the sudden expansion of their family, but had quickly fallen in love with their unexpected granddaughters. They visited often, bringing presents and stories about Jack's childhood that delighted all 3 children. After popsicles, the kids helped Jack gather up the outdoor toys and went inside to shower off the mud and grass. Jack started dinner preparations, listening to their chatter and laughter from the bathroom. The house that had once felt too quiet after Lily's death now hummed with life and noise. That evening, after the children were bathed and in pajamas, Jack gathered them in the living room for their nightly routine. Tommy chose a book from the shelf, one of his old favorites that the twins were now enjoying, and they all squeezed onto the couch for story time. "Dad?" Tommy asked as Jack finished the last page. "Remember when you found Lily and Lucy on Christmas Eve?" Jack nodded. "Of course. That was one of the most important nights of my life. Do you think it was magic? Like Christmas magic that made you drive by right when they were there?" Jack considered this. "I think it was something even more special than magic. I think it was your mother looking out for all of us, helping us find each other when we needed it most." This answer seemed to satisfy Tommy, who nodded seriously. As Jack tucked the twins into their beds later, Lily asked her own question. "Dad, do you think Mommy Rebecca knew we would be happy here?" Jack smoothed her curly hair so much like Tommy's, like his own. "I think she knew exactly how much we would all love each other. That's why she worked so hard to find us." "I'm glad she found you," Lucy said sleepily from her bed. "Even though I miss her." "It's okay to miss her," Jack assured her. "We can be happy here and still miss her. That's how love works. It stretches across time and space and even across heaven and earth." Later, after all three children were asleep, Jack stepped out onto his back porch with a cup of tea. The summer night was warm, stars twinkling overhead, so different from that cold, snowy Christmas Eve that had changed everything. He thought about the remarkable chain of events that had brought the twins to him. His wife's decision to preserve her eggs before cancer treatment, a decision made years before they even met. Rebecca's unorthodox choice to use those eggs without his knowledge. The desperate journey of a dying mother to ensure her daughter's future. The coincidence, or perhaps fate, that had placed him on that specific road at that precise moment. The story might seem unbelievable to outsiders. Sometimes it still amazed Jack himself. But the truth was written in the girls' DNA, in the shape of their eyes and the sound of their laughter. They were living miracles connecting him to his beloved wife in a way he could never have imagined possible. Jack took out his phone and scrolled through recent photos, the twins at the zoo, Tommy teaching them to ride bikes, all three children making breakfast for him on Father's Day. His new family, born from loss and deception but transformed into something beautiful and true. Tomorrow would bring the usual chaos of parenting three children, summer camp drop-offs, grocery shopping, work deadlines, a dentist appointment for Tommy. Ordinary life that now felt extraordinary because of the little girls who had appeared on a snowy roadside. Jack smiled up at the stars, sending silent gratitude to both mothers who had made this family possible. His wife Lily, whose love had continued to create life even after her death, and Rebecca, whose final act of courage and love had been to ensure her daughters found their way home. As he headed back inside to check on his sleeping children one last time before bed, Jack remembered something Rebecca had written in her letter. "They are Lily's legacy, and now they are yours." She had been right, but it was more than that. The twins weren't just a legacy of the past. They were the future, a new beginning. The family that had been broken by tragedy had been made whole again in the most unexpected way. Jack paused in the doorway of the twins' room, watching them sleep peacefully. In the soft glow of their nightlight, he could see traces of his wife in their features. But they were their own unique selves too. Lily with her boundless energy, Lucy with her thoughtful nature. "Thank you," he whispered to the quiet room, a message meant for both mothers who had given him these precious gifts. "I'll love them enough for all of us." And somewhere Jack felt certain both women heard him and were at peace.